Today on Roll for Crit, we are reviewing Fangs. This is a hidden roll and deduction game in which players are competing for different goals, and you'll be split into one of three teams. You'll either be the vampires, the werewolves, or the humans, all with their own specific strategies and abilities in order to achieve their end goals and get victory in the game.
At the start of the game, each player is going to be given a role, which you will keep secret face down, belonging to one of said three teams. The goals are sort of unique. What's interesting is this really seems to be a war of vampires versus werewolves. Their goals are very simple. Werewolves want all vampires dead. Vampires want all the werewolves dead. Humans, on the other hand, being humans, are more like a weird chaotic element. Where you see each human has a very specific goal. So depending on the human you get, they could want to be the first one to die some reason. Or they want to have a specific items. They could want to be the one to, at the end of the game, make sure they're like one of two standing. So because their goals are so different, they may align sometimes with one side or the other, depending on also power struggles and whatnot. But really, you'll never know with what they're up to. Now, you may be able to deduce, depending on any other social deduction game, depending on how people are acting and how they're helping. But the other thing is health. Each card starts with a different name. So like you may have an Andrew or Elizabeth. And when someone takes damage, they go up in this track. And when they hit this point, if that's how much health they have announce they died. If not, you have now learned the blue player is none of the in this case, humans. Humans are yellow, werewolves are blue, vampires are pink. So this isn't simply just the regular social deduction you're used to in which seeing how people act. There is a definite evidence-based thing here in which you can see if someone's alive or not, which you can narrow down what roles you're playing with. Of course, if you've ever played some of the most popular hidden role games, you know sometimes you can reveal yourself for special things. This game is no exception. All characters have a special ability, most of them only triggering when they reveal. You can either be forced to reveal or on your turn just reveal because maybe it's advantageous. They are extremely strong and can help you push the tides in your favor, be it maybe get extra damage, ignoring card abilities, or maybe lying.
Now, what you'll actually be doing on your turn involves these cards arranged in a circle here. They'll be arranged randomly. On your turn, you'll take these two dice, roll them, and add the results together. Then you place your pawn on the card with the number matching that result. Doesn't matter if it's next to you or not, you just go to wherever that number is. If it's the number you were already on, you have to roll again. And if you get a 10, because there is no 10, you get to go anywhere that you want. And each location has a different effect on it. Most of them are about drawing one of these three card types. So these two over here are going to have a variety of different events, which is something that will trigger right away. You'll read it out loud and take care of it. It might hurt you. It might help you. You have to be a little bit careful about that. Or you might find equipment, which you can put in front of you, and it'll give you special abilities, special powers. Maybe you're trying to collect them for a goal. Maybe they just have special, making you stronger, making you better in combat. Could be all sorts of things in there. The third type of card is very different. These are oracle cards, and these are very unique. They will have a yes or no question printed on them. And when you get to draw one of these cards, you don't answer that question yourself. You give it to another player, and they read it secretly and answer it. So
No.
So a lot of them are going to be about their identity. So for instance, this one says, are you human or a vampire? And that player has to answer honestly, yes or no. And if the answer is yes, they will do something. Maybe they give the player a card. Maybe they have to take a point of damage, some kind of indication. But only you and the player you handed it to will know what that card asked. So that is probably your best way to get concrete information about other players. There's also this witch tree, which allows you to either hurt somebody or heal somebody. Now, at the end of your turn, after you've done the location action, you also get to make an attack if you want on another player, either on your card or to the next card where the arrow is pointing. And the attack involves you rolling the two dice, but this time you're going to subtract the lower one from the higher one, and that's how much damage you do. And that's your primary way of doing damage. But of course, you might not want to do that early on because you don't necessarily know who's on your team. And like we said, there's maybe a person who wants to die first. And if you attack them, maybe you're giving them the win. So there's all kinds of things that are getting in the way and making you unable to fully know what's going on with everybody's roles.
We should say with those win conditions, if usually when you meet them, the game ends, there are some that are specifically the humans, because they're the weird ones, that may not happen unless someone else ends the game. So they can win in addition to someone else. That's actually pretty common. All the humans have the ones that can end on if they are the last ones living. Like I said, vampires, werewolves can end the game early if they are able, I don't think we've seen it, but to quickly hunt down the other team before anything happens.
Yeah, if they're able to figure out who they are fast and just kill everybody. And this is a game with player elimination. So if you do reach the end of your damage track, you will be out of the game. But if you're a werewolf or a vampire and your team wins, it still counts as you winning at the end.
Humans are all alone. They're like mercenaries. They don't really care about anyone else. They're just happy to be here.
Yeah, unless, again, there are some weird ones. Like there's one role that wants the player to their left to win. So there are going to be reasons for you to help somebody out. And that's another thing for the vampires and werewolves to try to understand.
And I want to focus on that because actually something I really love. We've seen this before. I've seen Mafia games where they have I think they change the name all the time because host rules like Jester who wants to die first. But I felt here because there's the combination, not simply just the night phase where you vote and kill someone. There's this where you learn a little bit because there's all the humans with weird goals going on. It never felt like, I feel like a lot of team-based hidden role games we've played where it's just sort of like, it's you or me.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing that separates this game. In most of these types of games, there's good guys and bad guys, right? It's that because there's humans thrown in, it's much more interesting. It's not just
and their goals are clever. Yeah, I think they're very, very solid. Honestly, with the exception of one in there, I like all the humans. Like there's one that needs very specific items. I'm like, okay, that's a little bit it's just challenging because there's not too much like you usually just get items from killing someone. I can't remember any other way particularly. But outside of that, it was always a fun to see whichever roles. Like when I play other games, I'm excited to be the villager, the nobody.
You like having nothing to worry about.
All these roles are mostly fun. You're always excited to see what you're going through.
Yeah, everybody is unique. Even if you are a vampire or werewolf whose goals are predetermined, they're always the same.
No,
they all have special abilities.
Yeah. And this health track too, that's the other thing. I think compared to many other the social deduction games, if you're more like me, this is one to give a shot because you get concrete evidence. There is those cards, and yes, the liar may be there, but for the most part, it's a safe bet. And because it's a private thing and you hear other people say yes, no, you still feel confident in what you know. And you can give those cards out to anyone. So let's say, I'm still not sure about you. I'll give you another, or give to the right. Give across to get more information if you want to make sure, depending on the items they have. And because of that with this, I felt like you had a much better time reading out players, but not enough where you no, I think everyone by one round.
Yeah. I mean, like most of these, this game should only take you 20 or 30 minutes, depending on how much arguing you do in between turns. So it's one where, the player elimination doesn't hurt too much. But I do think, that's the other thing that really makes this one stand out. I think if you're someone who doesn't have a great poker face or just doesn't really enjoy the lying aspect of of these hidden traitor games, you don't have to do that as much in this. It's more about the deduction and less about the social. Of course, that can be an aspect of it. But yeah, like you said, it really is, you're sussing out kind of a logic puzzle based on the knowledge that you have. And there are some times where you just don't land on the spots to let you draw these, and you might not have as much information as other people, but the games go quick.
Still, I think it is, you can watch other people, how they move, especially if someone reveals for the power, because those powers are usually worth it. I mean, sometimes you need to wait till the end for them because they can be situational. But if, let's say, I reveal as a werewolf, like I sort of answered in that question, and all of a sudden Jonathan's like, okay, I'm now attacking you more. You're like, okay, Jonathan's going for Will as a werewolf. He's probably either a human that for some reason wants something he has or specific goal, or he's a vampire. So that still can get information without the question card.
Yeah, or if you just see someone ask someone else something and then you notice they start then attacking them or leaving them alone, you're like, oh, so they're either on a team or not on a team. What does that mean?
But the humans they add enough mystery there that isn't always just, oh, they're together now.
Right.
First, I had plenty of human roles when someone was revealed, I'm leaving you alone right now because my goal wants you guys to maybe still have some vampires and werewolves in this low health but alive.
Yeah.
So it's not a guarantee, which I like. It's somehow this obfuscates everyone's roles while at the same time giving me more information.
Yeah, it kind of does do that.
The one thing I will say that is like more information, keeping more solid, as random as those dice. While there is subtracting, especially with certain items, you may think you're safe and all of a sudden you take like 6 damage.
Yeah.
That is very possible. So it's something you want to keep an eye out if you know someone who happens to have, especially in our games, multiple iron fists.
Yes, they could really gang up on these. It does depend on your group, but I do think the more you play, the smarter players will be about stuff like that, especially when you can throw in that role that, well, you don't want to hurt that person or whatever it may be. Or maybe you're just like, you know what, this game, I'm going to reveal early and have this extra power to start hurting people. And maybe that works for you, maybe it doesn't. I think like most of these deduction games, there's always that evolving meta as you play as to which roles or items people are interested in or which teams start winning more and more. That's going to evolve over time.
Crits and misses for Fangs.
Crits. This is a deduction game that's less about socially reading each other and lying and betraying people, and more about the actual deduction aspect of it, whether through that life tracker with everybody's health totals, or by revealing your ability early and maybe signaling to people who you are and what team you're on. There's more than one way to try to deduce what's happening in the game.
These added elements make sure that it's not just social cues and actions you can keep track of, but as people slowly get closer and closer to death, you may be able to narrow down not only what team they are, but which person on that team they are.
There are 3 different teams essentially in this game: humans, vampires, and werewolves, and each has a unique goal and abilities, especially those humans who really each one of them has their own very different type of goal. This keeps things interesting. It means you never quite know where someone's alliances are and what they're trying to do.
With each card having its own unique power and the humans having their own unique goal, it really helps keeps things interesting, shuffling, depending on which roles you're playing, and not simply just an us versus them. Misses. The dice rolls can swing heavily in one direction for another and can lead to maybe some bad feelings. Whether this is rolling and not really landing on any of the oracle spots, meaning you have not as much information, or on the other hand with damage, if you feel like you have plenty of health but someone rolled maximum damage and killed you much faster than you thought, it can lead to some sour feelings.
There are multiple avenues to trying to get ahead and figure out what's going on, but sometimes depending on your luck or maybe even which cards you draw, you could just feel like you're left in the dark and you don't know as much as everybody else, or maybe you're just piled up on for no real reason and kicked out of the game early.
The wording on the cards could have gone probably through another editing process. We were confused multiple times and had to read up to make sure how exactly they interacted with either us or other cards.
To the game's credit, there is a pretty thorough glossary in the back that explains most of the cards individually to help you out. But there were numerous times where we had to slow the game down to try to figure out exactly how things worked, which can be kind of a bummer for your experience.
As we hinted at before, I am not the biggest fan of social deduction games, but this one I felt solved most of the problems I have with those kind of things, at least for someone who's not good at them. I don't need, the lying is not as much because it's not like I'm afraid of who's on my team. I'll probably find out. The health tracker, I have solid information to deal with. Even the cards, I completely forgot about, and I totally agreed when we were talking about misses of how weird some of the wordings were. I remember what we had to hit. The biggest thing for me was one game, like I was down here and I took like that much damage. Like I knew it's even player elimination, which I usually don't like. I was fine, like I'm not doing that great right now, but to lose so quickly with a weird dice roll, like I wish I had like one more round. If it was here and then I died next turn, I would have felt better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is one of those things that comes along with it, and hopefully your games go fast so you're not too put out by it. But
no, they definitely, I think, perfect pacing for something like this.
Yeah, pretty good pacing, I think. And yeah, as someone who does really enjoy most social deduction games, I appreciated the change of pace. I think it's especially the 3 teams aspect. I think that's fantastic. That really switches things up. We neglected to mention, but this is based on a different Japanese game that was published previously.
Shadowhunters. I believe there were English copies.
Well, I will say I didn't think this was strong enough to really be a miss, but one of the other things I do think will probably turn a lot of people off, the artwork on the cards and the box is very like, it looks like a cheap pulpy romance novel sort of vibe.
I mean, to be fair, vampires, humans, werewolves.
I mean, that is the theme, but I do think a lot of people won't really be into that theme.
But that said, mechanically, It sounds like somehow this got the person who loves the social deduction and the person who is not good at them to have a great time, which is saying something.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's not going to fully break the mold of these types of games and blow your mind. But if you enjoy that type, or maybe if you don't and you are hoping for something that has a different spin on it, it's a solid experience. We had a lot of fun with it. And, of course, higher player counts are usually better for these types of games.
No, this worked really well.
So check it out. The game is called Fangs. And maybe if you've had the chance to play it, you could talk to us in the comments. Let us know. Do you have a specified team that you really like, or a goal that's your favorite, or what's your strat?
Oh yeah, let us know what team. Are you vampire werewolf, or are you a human just sowing chaos?
Yeah, just one of the boring old humans just messing it up for the rest of them. Talk to us down there. Until next time, I'm Jonathan.
I'm Will.
And this was Roll for Crit.
Congratulations, you have reached the end of the video. But before you leave, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe. If you want to help us out more, you can check us out on Patreon. And if you want to see us play about in playing board games or some video games, you can check out our Twitch or our other YouTube channel, Roll for Crit Live, for more longer form videos that tend to be streamed live. So come join us.